Guys, hello and welcome back to my channel, and today is the third day of our masterclass series. I hope you guys are learning a lot from this masterclass series for IGCSE English. And even if you are a GCSE student, it is still okay, because this masterclass, whatever techniques you are learning, will be applicable to almost all type or all international curriculum. So let's start with the class. Before we start with the class, let me tell you that if you have still not followed my Instagram handle, then right now go and follow, because if you don't follow my Instagram handle, you will never get any updates about the assignment, discussion and live sessions that I am conducting on my channels. All the timetables, every information, every timing, deadlines, everything is released only on my Instagram handle. So if you have not followed it yet, check the link here and follow it right away. Secondly, in the description box, you will get free downloadable resources on my website. So do not forget to check that out. And also, in case if you are wanting to join our one-to-one sessions with our expert teachers, do not forget to contact on the number. So let's get started with the class. In today's class, we are going to discuss about journal entry or journal writing. As you all can see on my screen, what do you mean? First of all, let's understand why do we write a journal, because journal and diary quite synonymous, and a lot of students get confused that what is diary entry and what is journal entry. A simple difference between both is, one, in diary entry we have dates. In journal entry we can choose to write dates, but it is something which mostly focuses on the emotions and feeling. But for IGCSEs, please understand, we are going to follow the rule of writing dates also. It's better to write dates and then to maintain record. So the major intention behind writing a journal is, you want to share your emotions, your feelings. You want to just vent out on a piece of paper, and that is the reason we write a journal. So now moving on to my iPad screen. Before we begin the class, I want all of you to get your pen and paper ready for taking notes. And second most important thing is, sit in a distraction-free room. Switch off whatever type of distraction you have for next 25 to 30 minutes, and only then you sit for this class. So let's get started. So first very important thing, that as I was discussing in the class, that is, what is the difference between journal and a diary. So as you can see over here, a journal is a personal record where you can pen your thoughts, observation and experiences. Okay, so if you have noticed over here, journal means wherein you actually talk about your emotions and your feelings, in-depth feelings, your fears, your hopes, your desires, your ambitions, your goals, everything. Fears, hopes, desires, ambition, everything, you talk about it in your journal. And in your diary, you basically talk also, if a diary is utilized to maintain a track of important things. Okay, so don't get confused between a journal writing and a diary entry. You usually do not have dates assigned in a journal. You can write the dates. You have to write the dates on your own. You don't have dates assigned on the pages of a journal. Whereas for a diary, we have dates assigned for each and every page. You can write down your innermost thoughts, observations and experiences. In diary, you track things in your life: your food intake, your water intake, your exercise, your daily expenses, your weight, your mood. So diary is kind of a tracker, whereas a journal is where you are yourself without all the filters that you used in the real world. You have to be your own self. Why am I talking about it? Because in your examination, they might not ask you to write the journal for your own self. They might ask you to write a journal based on the insert or the texts that you have read or the comprehension that you have read. So what is more important over here is in journal entry, that is empathy. You have to step in the writer's shoe and then describe all these things, the emotion, feelings, desire, fears, hopes, ambition, whatever your question demands. So it is very, 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 very important to be empathetic when you write a journal in your examination paper. Generally, you talk about your own self, but in your examination paper, they might not ask you only about yourself. You will be asked about the character in the text also. So you have to step in the character's shoes and then write the journal. Moving on to the next part, that is features of a journal. So what is the exact purpose of writing a journal? First basic purpose that we follow to write a journal is we are going to describe our day. Okay, that is point number 1. And point number 2 is explain feeling, thoughts, opinions about their experiences. Now try and understand two things. I am trying to tell you, describe your day and then explain feeling, thoughts, experiences, opinions for that particular day in a journal. When you do that, you have to keep one thing in mind, that you should be following a chronological order for the same. Very, very, very crucial point. You cannot end up mixing up the whole day. You have to start from the beginning of the day, how you woke up, what you felt, what thought process you had, what actions you took, with whom you spoke, how you felt how you felt after speaking to somebody, then where did you go, what was the impact on you because you went somewhere. All these things, it should be in a chronological order. Do not forget to, and that is what is the structure of your journal, okay? If you don't write in chronological order, you end up just writing things without any structure in a journal, which is very important. You have to write things in a proper structure, okay? Now the next part is when I say about feeling, ask yourself these questions. What was the feeling of the character in the text? Because you might end up writing the journal entry for a particular character in the comprehension given to you. So what was the feeling? So the feeling of fear, courage, hope, or humor, or whichever feeling the character is undergoing, okay, or emotions. You have to first ask yourself that question, that what were the emotions of the character in the text. Only when you understand that. So if there could be a mixed feeling also, the feeling of fear and happiness, okay, feeling of humor, like light-hearted feeling plus feeling of some hope. There can be mixed feeling, but again, follow the chronological order to describe whichever feeling you're going to talk about. That is very important. So again, second thing is your journal is always personal and subjective. So it is not necessary that you follow a certain type of language. You can use extremely simple, casual, chatty style of writing while you're writing a journal. You need not be following a certain type of I would say sentence structure which is ready-made and given, because every person is different and unique. So each one of us has a different style of talking to our own self and writing, like without all the masks that we wear in the world. So that exact style you are going to use in your journal. Of course, if the question demands you to use a particular style, so let's talk about, okay, you are writing chatty styles or casual styles. If the question demands you to speak in a certain way, answer stay relevant to the question. All right. Now the next important thing is first person. So of course you're talking to your own self. You cannot talk as a second person or a third person. You have to talk about your own self using the pronouns as I, we, us, we are, I am. This will make you feel part of the story. If you write as a second person, you are writing a journal. You have to get into the shoes of the character and write from character's perspective. You cannot write it as a second person. Please write it in a first person only. Next is emotive language. As I told you, emotions are must in a journal. Most emotive, the best way to describe any emotion is using imagery. Use it. Imagery is basically when a person reads your sentence, the person should be able to visualize what exactly happened. Okay, for example, my eyes lit up when my eyes lit up the moment I saw him. Here when somebody closes your eyes and closes their eyes and try to visualize that what exactly even without closing your eyes you can visualize what I said, right? And get specific about things. For example, when you are talking about your eyes lit, so describe a little more about things, get into detail. So specify or get into details of the surrounding, of the feeling, of the behavior, of the look on the person's face or your face. Get into the details of every single thing. This basically helps the reader to visualize what happened with you and how well you are able to read your own self. That is what is seen. Again, talking about chronological order, that's what I talked about in the previous slide. You have to start and end in a right chronological order. Opinion and point of view, yes, you are talking to your own self. It's a personal writing. You are allowed to give as many opinions, whether or not right, as many perspective you can in a journal. Okay, now moving on to the next features. That first we talk about, very important thing over here, it's first person. We already discussed, that is the language. Okay, very important thing is the tense. Understand, you are talking about something which has happened in past. It happened yesterday or today morning. So you cannot write it in present or future tense. Your journal should be and must be in past tense only. So understand one thing, it should be first person, past tense, chronological order, emotive language with all the imageries, and get in detail of every single thing. As I said, detailed description, very important, very, very, very important. Detailed description that shows that how well or how critically you can think about the character, get into the detail about his get into the detail about his or her style of thinking, and then describe it. Again, if you want to add those extra marks, what you can do is use idioms, very important, or phrases. Okay, let me write it. Or you can use some quotes, or please do not use any slang. Please don't, no slang, no slangs. Idioms, phrases you can use. Do not use any slang. Okay. Now moving on to the next part is, yes, you can start with the date and dear diary. Describe the events in the order that they happen. Use adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions to make the order of events clear. Very important thing. Okay, I'll use a thicker pencil and write it a little neatly. So, very important thing over here is use adverbs, adjectives, some exaggerated words, adverbs, okay, then you can use adjectives, then you can use some intense, to describe any intense emotion. You can use exclamation, question mark, you right use of punctuation. And I would say, to make it even more interesting, I keep on saying that in all my master classes, that make it like a, speak like a story, write like, or I would say, tell a story. Because when you try to do this, now you end up by default working on the, working on the flow or the structure without any restrictions. So many times kids ask me that how I should structure my writing. I always tell them, speak with, try to tell a story or visualize the chronological order of the events that you feel or the emotions that you feel must have happened. You have to visualize and imagine. It might not be the reality, but that is what English language is all about. Okay. Next is interesting adjectives and adverbs. We talked about that. Language that appeals to all senses. Very, very important. Use all your senses or description of all 5 senses. That is your sight, your sound, how it smelled, how it tasted, how you felt when you touch, it was hot, cold, whatever. Similes and metaphors, so basically figurative language or literary devices. Use it well to elaborate and to add that garnish on the whole platter of journal writing you are trying to create. Okay, so literary devices is something you should be aware of. Secondly, many a times it is technically, or many a times it's not possible that we all of a sudden, unless and until we are a native speaker, we are able to use the idioms and phrases very well. So the best way to do is write down at least 2 to 3 idioms in your book. At least once in a week, 5 idioms also. If you do it for 2 years, you will end up getting 52 into 5. So it's not even 52, 104 into 5 if you 9th and IGCSE 1 and IGCSE 2. So make it a habit of you maintaining a vocabulary bank and some idioms, phrases bank. So I would say language bank and vocab. Again, vocab is a part of language only, but yes, you can make all these banks wherein you can store the data, but make sure to use it also. Don't end up just storing it for lifetime. Okay, so the next thing is, there are a few examples given over here, and I hope this video was very helpful for you. Also, if you have not followed, also make sure that you check my Instagram handle for the assignment which I'm going to upload. You have to solve it, and I will take up those assignments in my live sessions. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. See you in my next masterclass, which is coming very soon. And if you would want to know the timetable for the same, again, the same